Hey y'all, welcome to Sandy's Library. I'm Sandy.
And I'm Sara. In this video, we're going to take a look at Session 11 of the raw material.
And don't forget about our dogs and our cat. They can be noisy sometimes, so please ignore them. And just as an FYI, I know that sometimes it sounds like I'm stumbling through Don's questions, but I'm not. I read all of Don's questions word for word. And with that in mind, let's go ahead and get started. This is the Law of One, Session 11, original recording date, January 28th, 1981.
I am Ra. I greet you in the love and the light of the infinite Creator. I communicate now.
Q&A number 1. Question. Should we include the ritual that you have suggested that we use to call you in the book that will result from these sessions?
I am Ra. This matter is of small importance, for our suggestion was made for the purpose of establishing contact through this instrument with this group.
So, what Ra is basically saying here is, you can tell everybody in the whole world this is how you contact Ra, but in reality, these are instructions for how Carla contacted Ra. I mean, y'all give it a shot if you want. I'm just not sure how well it'll work for people who aren't Carla. Q&A number 2. Question. Is it of any assistance to the instrument to have name and name present during these sessions? Does the number in the group make any difference in these sessions? And before we get to Ra's answer, y'all, I'm just curious as to why they replace these people's names with the word name. And the original recording does nothing to clear this up either, because the beginning of the session was not caught on tape. Go figure. On to you, Ra.
I am Ra. The most important of these entities are the questioner and the vibratory sound complex Jim. The two entities additional aid the instrument's comfort by energizing the instrument with their abilities to share the physical energy complex, which is a portion of your love vibration.
Well, honestly, y'all, knowing the tangled history between these three, I'm just kind of like, yeah, okay. Q&A number 3. Question. You said yesterday that Maldek was destroyed due to warfare. If Maldek hadn't destroyed itself due to warfare, would it have become a planet that evolved with self-service, and would the entities have increased in density? Gone on to say the 4th, 5th density in the negative sense or the sense of self-service.
I am Ra. The planetary social memory complex Maldek had in common with your own sphere the situation of a mixture of energy direction. Thus it, though unknown, would most probably have been a mixed harvest.
Maybe Don should have been a little more worried about the Earth's polarization than Maldek's, considering the state of the world now, here in 2023. Nevertheless, back to you, Ra.
A few moving to 4th density, a few moving toward 4th density in service to self, the great majority repeating 3rd density. This is approximate due to the fact that parallel probability vortices cease when action occurs, and new possibility vortices are begun.
Sounds like the multiverse to me. Q&A number 4. Question. Is there a planet behind our sun opposite to us in orbit that we do not know about?
I am Ra. There is a sphere in the area opposite your sun of a very, very cold nature, but large enough to skew certain statistical figures. This sphere should not properly be called a planet as it is locked in first density.
Yeah, I don't think humans and Ra have the same definition for a planet. And did y'all know there's an object that's entered our solar system that they say is the size of a small planet? And they say we should begin to see it with the naked eye in 2028. And it'll make its closest approach to Earth in 2032. And if you're not just a little bit worried about that, all I can say is, must be nice living inside your head with the Easter Bunny and all. Q&A number 5. Question. You said that entities from Maldek might go to, some may go to, fourth density negative. Are there people who go out of our present third density to places in the universe and serve, which are fourth density, self-service, or negative type of planets?
I am Ra. Your question is unclear. Please restate.
Q&A number 6. Question. As our cycle ends and graduation occurs, is it possible for anyone to go from this third density to a fourth density planet that is a self-service type or negative type?
I am Ra. We grasp now the specificity of your query. In this harvest, the probability possibility vortex indicates and harvest though small of this type. That is correct.
Yeah, Don's kidding himself if he thinks our world is filled with positively polarized people in 1981 or here in 2023. Just saying. Q&A number 7. Question. Can you tell us what happened to Adolf Hitler?
I am Ra. The mind-body-spirit complex, known as Adolf, is at this time in an healing process in the middle astral planes of your spherical force field. This entity was greatly confused, and although aware of the circumstance of change in vibratory level associated with the cessation of the chemical body complex, nevertheless needed a great deal of care.
Okay, so I've got just one question. If the service to self path is as bad as Ra claims it is, how come Hitler didn't graduate to fourth density negative? I mean, he's the epitome of a bad guy. So you gotta ask yourself, why is he going through a healing process instead of moving into fourth density negative? Well, I'll tell you why. Because what Hitler did is not acceptable for either path. Meaning, you're not graduating to the next density as long as you do shit like that while incarnated. It's my understanding that when people commit heinous crimes against humanity, after death, they go through a healing process where their energy is restructured, if you will. And remember, y'all, energy cannot be destroyed. It can be reshaped or transformed, but you can never destroy it. Q&A number 8. Question. Is there anyone in our history that is commonly known who went to a fourth density, self-service, or negative type planet, or who will go there?
I am Ra. The number of entities thus harvested is small. However, a few have penetrated the 8th level, which is only available from the opening up of the 7th through the 6th. Penetration into the 8th or intelligent infinity level allows a mind-body-spirit complex to be harvested if it wishes at any time-space during the cycle.
See, it doesn't matter what you do. As long as you do something, you will get there sooner or later. Now, that said, I don't know if y'all noticed, but 2 things. 1, Ra didn't answer Don's question. And 2, they said penetration into the 8th or intelligent infinity level. So, what are they saying? That 8th density is intelligent infinity? That's what it sounds like to me. Q&A number 9. Question. Are any of these people known in the history of our planet by name?
I am Ra. We will mention a few. The one known as Taurus Bulba, the one known as Genghis Khan, the one known as Rasputin.
Ra sure knows a lot about negative densities, don't they? Q&A number 10. Question. How did they accomplish this? What was necessary for them to accomplish this?
All of the aforementioned entities were aware through memory of Atlantean understandings having to do with the use of the various centers of mind-body-spirit complex energy influx in attaining the gateway to intelligent infinity.
Y'all hear that? Apparently, being on the service to self path is not a detriment to finding and tapping into intelligent infinity. Now, do I think everybody should turn into selfish assholes? No, I do not. But honestly, y'all, look how the selfish assholes outnumber those who preach love, peace, and harmony today. All I'm saying is, it's a good idea to carefully consider what Ra's true purpose was when they made contact through Carla back in 1981. Q&A number 11. Question. Did this enable them to do what we refer to as magic, do paranormal things, while they were incarnate here?
I am Ra. This is correct. The first two entities mentioned made little use of these abilities consciously. However, they were bent single-mindedly upon service to self, sparing no efforts in personal discipline to double, redouble, and so empower this gateway.
Which didn't really affect their ability to cause serious harm to the human race, neither. Now did it?
The third was a conscious adept and also spared no effort in the pursuit of service to self.
Well, that's Ra's side of the story. But I can assure you, this is not the full picture. They're telling us what they want us to hear. They're feeding us half the story. You know, the part that makes them look good in hopes of, say it with me now, Ra is trying to recruit us for harvest. Q&A number 12. Question. Where are these three entities now?
I am Ra. These entities are in the dimension known to you as fourth. Therefore, the space-time continua are not compatible. An approximation of the space-time locus of each would net no actual understanding. Each chose a fourth density planet which was dedicated to the pursuit of the understanding of the law of one through service to self. One in what you know as the Orion group, one in what you know as Cassiopeia, one in what you know as Southern Cross. However, these loci are not satisfactory. We do not have vocabulary for the geometric calculations necessary for transfer of this understanding to you.
Yeah, okay. That's pretty convenient, to say the least. And look, y'all, if the loci ain't satisfactory to sustain the negatively polarized planets, then we here on Earth should be worried. Just saying. Q&A number 13. Question. Who went to the Orion group?
I am Ra, the one known as Genghis Khan.
Makes you wonder why he ain't up there in the middle astral planes of the Earth's force field healing with Hitler. I mean, Genghis Khan committed some pretty horrific crimes against humanity too. Or are they telling us that Genghis is already done healing, and now they're cutting him loose on some fourth density planet to see if he can do better this time? Anybody besides me hoping this is not the fourth density planet that he's reincarnated onto? I mean, they said he was with the Orion group. But y'all gullible if you believe that means he's on a planet in the Orion constellation. Q&A number 14. Question. What does he presently do there? What is his job or occupation? What does he do?
I am Ra. This entity serves the Creator in its own way.
Well, let that sink in. A guy like Genghis Khan serves the Creator in his own way. Q&A number 15. Question. Is it impossible for you to tell us precisely how he does this service?
I am Ra. It is possible for us to speak to this quarry. However, we use any chance we may have to reiterate the basic understanding, learning that all beings serve the Creator.
Y'all hear that? Once again, they said, all beings serve the Creator. Back to you, Ra.
The one you speak of as Genghis Khan at present is incarnate in a physical light body, which has the work of disseminating material of thought control to those who are what you may call crusaders. He is, as you would term this entity, a shipping clerk.
Yeah, okay, if you say so. But y'all, don't let that last bit of drivel distract you from the beginning of their answer where they said, all beings serve the Creator. All of them. Even the big bad Orion group. Plus, let's not forget, too, that early on they said there is no right or wrong way to do this. And y'all, it never ceases to amaze me when Dawn moves on so quickly to a new question when I have so many more questions about Genghis Khan. I want to know more about his job of disseminating this thought control material. Nevertheless, on to Q&A number 16. Question. What do the Crusaders do?
I am Ra. The Crusaders move in their chariots to conquer planetary mind-body-spirit social complexes before they reach the stage of achieving social memory.
Like Ra doesn't. Seriously, y'all. They just conquer in a different way is all. They scare you into joining them with terrifying tales about the boogeyman that they call the Orion group. And what's with the use of the word chariots? Why didn't they just say spaceships? That'd make more sense to us humans in both 1981 and 2023. Q&A number 17. Question. At what stage does a planet achieve social memory? And before we get to Ra's answer, I just want to clarify things a little bit. It's not the planet that achieves social memory. It's the beings on the planet that achieve the social memory. It's a subtle difference, yet a big deal. Now, let's see what Ra says.
I am Ra. A mind-body-spirit social complex becomes a social memory complex when its entire group of entities are of one orientation or seeking.
See, it's the people, not the planet. Back to Ra.
The group memory lost to the individuals in the roots of the tree of mind then becomes known to the social complex, thus creating a social memory complex. The advantages of this complex are the relative lack of distortion in understanding the social beingness, and the relative lack of distortion in pursuing the direction of seeking for all understanding. Distortions are available to the entities of the society.
Y'all know what that says to me? Once you give your soul's energy to a social memory complex, You stop being an individual. But y'all, I don't resonate with that at all. Think of it as an ocean filled with a bajillion droplets of water. They all form the whole, yet they can be separated into individual droplets, each droplet containing the whole. I know that's a hard concept to wrap your head around, but if you can do it, then you'll better understand the soul and the infinite creator. Q&A number 18. Question. Then we have crusaders from Orion coming to this planet for mind control purposes. How do they do this? And before we get to the answer, I just want to say mind control defies the law of free will. Say it with me now. Being susceptible to mind control would require that you agreed to it prior to incarnation. Nevertheless, on to the answer.
As all, they follow the law of one observing free will. Contact is made with those who call. Those then upon the planetary sphere act much as do you to disseminate the attitudes and philosophy of their particular understanding of the law of one, which is service to self. These become the elite. Through these, the attempt begins to create a condition whereby the remainder of the planetary entities are enslaved by their own free will.
Y'all, this is misleading at best. I mean, it's like they're saying, oh sure, you can go that way, but it's the wrong way. Trust us, our way is better. But like I said, y'all, you're not going to get enslaved by your own free will unless you agreed to it prior to incarnation. Q&A number 19. Question. Can you name any of the recipients of the Crusaders, that is, any names that may be known on the planet today?
I am Ra. I am desirous of being in non-violation of the free will distortion. To name those involved in the future of your space-time is to infringe. Thus we withhold this information. We request your contemplation of the fruits of the actions of those entities whom you may observe enjoying the distortion toward power. In this way, you may discern for yourself this information. We shall not interfere with the, shall we say, planetary game. It is not central to the harvest.
You know, I find it interesting that Ra can tell us about the Confederation and the Orion group, yet they bring up free will when you start asking for names. So let that sink in. They're protecting the free will of the Orion group's members. Seems like the only people who don't get their free will protected is us humans. I mean, really. They'll tell us that we should be wary of the Orion group, but will they do us a favor and give us names? No. That would be against those people's free will. So, what are they saying? That some people's free will counts more than others? Quite frankly, y'all, that's bullshit. Q&A number 20. Question. How do the Crusaders pass on their concepts to the incarnate individuals on Earth?
I am Ra. There are two main ways, just as there are two main ways of, shall we say, polarizing towards service to others. There are those mind-body-spirit complexes upon your plane who do exercises and perform disciplines in order to seek contact with sources of information and power leading to the opening of the gate to intelligent infinity. There are others whose vibratory complex is such that this gateway is opened in contact with total service to self, with its primal distortion of manipulation of others, is then afforded with little or no difficulty, no training, and no control.
Of course, Ra would never manipulate us. No, only the big bad Orion group. And just for the record, I don't buy into the notion that everyone traveling down the service to self path is there simply to manipulate others. I just don't resonate with that at all. For me, most folks on the service to self path are learning how to love themselves, because that's something that many folks on the service to others path fail to accomplish. But it's something we all have to do. And so far, Roz left that part out. Q&A number 21. Question. What type of information is passed on from the Crusaders to these people?
I am Ra. The Orion group passes on information concerning the Law of One with the orientation of service to self. The information can become technical, just as some in the Confederation, in attempts to aid this planet in service to others, have provided what you would call technical information. The technology provided by this group is in the form of various means of control or manipulation of others to serve the self.
Well, I'm not denying that this sort of thing goes on, but y'all are incredibly naive if you believe it's confined to the Orion group and other service-to-self collectives. I would never dream of manipulating you. They'll just scare you half to death with tales of the boogeyman they call the Orion group, and after that, history shows the masses will follow willingly and blindly. Q&A number 22. Question. Do you mean then that some scientists receive technical information, shall we say telepathically, that comes out then as usable gadgetry?
I am Ra. That is correct. However, very positively, as you would call this distortion, oriented so-called scientists have received information intended to unlock peaceful means of progress, which redounded unto the last echoes of potential destruction due to further reception of other scientists of a negative orientation distortion.
This is what I like to call double talk. And as far as sharing potentially destructive technology with us lowly little humans, well, I think the Confederation takes the cake on that one. They are, after all, the ones who made sure that two warring factions got a hold of nuclear technology. Nevertheless, let's move on to Q&A number 23, where we'll hear some more double talk. Question. Is this how we learned of nuclear energy? Was it mixed, both positive and negative orientation?
I am Ra. This is correct. The entities responsible for the gathering of the scientists were of a mixed orientation. The scientists were overwhelmingly positive in their orientation. The scientists who followed their work were of mixed orientation, including one extremely negative entity, as you would term it.
Okay, so in earlier sessions, they told us the Confederation was responsible for mankind's development of nuclear technology. And now they're blaming it on an extremely negative entity. Q&A number 24. Question. Is this extremely negative entity still incarnate on Earth?
I am Ra. This is correct.
Q&A number 25. Question. Then I assume you can't name him and would ask you where Nikola Tesla got his information.
I am Ra. The one known as Nikola received information from Confederation sources desirous of aiding this extremely, shall we say, angelically positive entity in bettering the existence of its fellow mind-body-spirit complexes. It is unfortunate, shall we say, that like many wanderers, the vibratory distortions of third density illusion cause this entity to become extremely distorted in its perceptions of its fellow mind-body-spirit complexes so that its mission was hindered and in the result perverted from its purposes.
Well, that's one way to look at it. I'll ever notice that when Ra does something that turns out bad, they always say, "Oops, that was not our intention." But when the Orion group does something that turns out bad, it's always, "They did it on purpose. They like to manipulate y'all." Gotta admit, they have a very unique spin on things, that's for sure. Q&A number 26. Question. How was Tesla's work supposed to benefit man on Earth? And what were its purposes?
I am Ra. The most desired purpose of the mind-body-spirit complex, Nicola, was the freeing of all planetary entities from darkness. Thus it attempted to give to the planet the infinite energy of the planetary sphere for use in lighting and power.
Yeah, and that didn't happen, now did it? All because we had, and still have, some greedy asses on the planet. And that speaks volumes to me about which polarity mankind is leaning towards too. And you know, they say there are no dumb questions. But I gotta say, Q&A number 27 definitely fits the bill. Question. By freeing the planetary entities from darkness, precisely what do you mean? See what I mean, y'all? They did say, after all, it was for lighting and power. That's pretty much self-explanatory. And if that's not bad enough, most of Ra's answer was lost due to a tape recorder malfunction. But the gist of the response was as follows.
I am Ra. We spoke of freeing people from darkness in a literal sense.
Q&A number 28. Question. Would this freeing from darkness be commensurate with the law of one, or does this have any real product?
I am Ra. The product of such a freeing would create two experiences. Firstly, the experience of no need to find the necessary emolument for payment in your money for energy. Secondly, the leisure afforded thereby exemplifying the possibility and enhancing the probability of the freedom to then search the self for the beginning of seeking the law of one. Few there are working physically from daybreak to darkness, as you name them upon your plane, who can contemplate the law of one in a conscious fashion.
First of all, none of that happened, now did it? Because we're being charged out the ass for electricity. It seems like Ra tries to do something good for us. It never pans out. And you ever wonder why? Makes me wonder just how much effort they actually put into it. Based on what they say, seems like the Orion group is far more effective than Ra. I mean, they say the Orion group can manipulate shit out of us, yet everything Ra has tried to do in the name of helping mankind become enlightened enough to be harvested has failed miserably. Food for thought, y'all. Q&A number 29. Question. What about the Industrial Revolution in general? Was that planned in any way?
I am Ra. This will be the final question of this session. That is correct. Wanderers incarnated in several waves, as you may call them, in order to bring into existence the gradual freeing from the demands of the diurnal cycles and lack of freedom of leisure.
Give me a break. Most people I know spend 10 hours a day in work-related activities. That leaves 14 hours, which 4 or 5 of those involve taking care of home and family. That leaves 9 to 10 hours. Oh, and don't forget to add sleep time in there. Look, even on the weekends, most people I know spend their time preparing for work the following week and keeping their home in livable shape. That leaves us with a whole lot of time for leisurely contemplation, don't it? Q&A number 30. Question. Well, that was the last question, so I will, as usual, ask if there's anything we can do to make the instrument more comfortable.
I am Ra. You are doing well. The most important thing is to carefully align the symbols. The adjustment made this particular time-space present will aid this instrument's physical complex in the distortion toward comfort. May we ask if you have any short questions which we may resolve before closing the session.
Q&A number 31. Question. I don't know if this is a short question or not, so we can save it till next time. But my only question is, why do the Crusaders from Orion do this? What is their ultimate objective? This is probably too long to answer.
I am Ra. This is not too long to answer. To serve the self is to serve all.
Y'all, this is the only part of this answer that we need to pay attention to. To serve the self is to serve all. And the rest is just double talking BS. So, let's hear it, Ra.
The service of the self, when seen in this perspective, requires an ever-expanding use of the energies of others for manipulation to the benefit of the self, with distortion toward power. If there are further queries to more fully explicate this subject, we shall be with you again.
Q&A number 32. Question. Just one thing I forgot. Is it possible to do another session later today?
I am Ra. It is well.
Q&A number 33 is actually a response to which Dawn says, thank you.
I am Ra. I leave you in the love and the light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth then rejoicing in the power and the peace of the one Creator, Adonai.
Seems like Ra is trying really hard to recruit, at the very least, Don, Carla, and Jim for harvest. And for me, when somebody's trying so damned hard to recruit you for service, it behooves us to ask ourselves, why? Okay, so this brings us to the end of session 11.
Thanks for joining us today. We'll be back soon with session 12.
Later, Gators.